Hello, thanks for joining me with this special fire weather briefing of the National Weather Service office in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm David Church, and I'll take you through this briefing today. The key point here is that we are looking at major fire weather risk, folks, on Friday, June 26th, and Saturday, June 27th. And that's due to a combination of very strong winds and low humidity on both Friday and Saturday, along with the potential for extremely poor overnight recovery Friday night for portions of southern Utah, which could see more than 30 hours of continuous critical fire weather conditions. Setting a bit of the stage of the background here, we've seen multiple large fires burning across Utah over the past week, with the two biggest incidents really being the Iron Fire here near Eureka, Utah, as well as the Cottonwood Fire burning down east of Beaver, Utah here. We look at what's happened weather-wise over the last 24 hours. We've also had some additional lightning across a lot of the area here over the last 24 hours, especially west central Utah, portions of the area from Dugway through the Wasatch Front and into Heber, and some more isolated lightning across portions of central Utah and out toward Hanksville here. So the main concern with any additional lightning strikes is going to be the potential for holdover starts once we do see those really windy and dry conditions. Looking on the right, there has been some precipitation over the last 24 hours, most of which has been less than a tenth of an inch, which is what we would consider a wetting rainfall, which can start to affect fuel conditions. So there has been some pockets of some wetting rains, but not anything enough to really change too much of the fuels picture here. Looking at today, there is a risk for more isolated dry thunderstorms across much of kind of the eastern half of the state of Utah here, where we could see some more thunderstorms, putting down more lightning, potential for more holdover instead of waiting for bigger fire weather day on Friday or Saturday, as well as some near critical fire weather conditions even today across west central Utah. Also today, there is a risk for severe thunderstorms as well across northern Utah in this darker green shaded area where we could see a few gusts of 58 miles an hour and even some small hail. And again, that threat of putting down some more lightning ahead of a more active fire weather pattern coming tomorrow. And just to mention for today across southeast Utah, there is a localized flash flood threat, especially for areas that are prone to it in Capitol Reef National Park, Glen Canyon Rec area, as well as the San Rafael Swell. So just something to be aware of there as well today. Now looking ahead to Friday, the one thing to mention here is the extremely critical fire weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. We looked back, the last time we had one of these was in June of 2021, so it's been over 5 years. And looking all the way back to 2010, we've only ever had four of these on a day two outlook. So this is a big deal to get an extremely critical outlook due to the setup that we have coming for Friday. In alignment with that, we do have red flag warnings that are already in effect for much of the state of Utah from Friday into Saturday for those same conditions. And just to drive home the point of how unusual this event is coming up, we've issued a major risk level outlook for dangerous fire weather conditions for much of the state of Utah from Friday into Saturday. Since we've been doing these rating systems, this is the first major risk we've issued. So this is a big deal, folks, that we're looking at very critical fire weather conditions developing on the heels of a very active week of already large fires and even more lightning potential holdover starts from yesterday or today. Now, looking at today and going into tomorrow, we see that today we do still have that chance of additional lightning, as well as potential for some additional wetting rains, especially across central Utah. But we're not expecting that to really change the field picture too much before we get into Friday and Saturday. And again, that may just help to suppress any additional lightning strikes from really getting started until we dry out more on Friday and Saturday. And here's that drying out as we get into Friday, with really the bigger picture concern being those increase of the southwesterly winds. We see the high sustained winds coming up on the left, as well as the peak wind gusts on the right here for tomorrow. With the highest winds really expected, especially across southwestern Utah, including Cedar City, Milford, Delta, areas near the Cottonwood Fire, and up toward the Iron Fire as well. And when we get into Saturday, we see those winds continue really across much of the same areas. However, we see that expansion further east into eastern Utah, including Moab and many of the eastern strip of Utah there as well. As far as humidity goes, we will start with some poor overnight recoveries Friday morning across those windy areas we were talking about for southwest Utah, and really dry conditions by the afternoon with the low minimum humidities on the right here. For Saturday, we can see those areas across basically eastern Utah and southeast Utah where we get really poor overnight recoveries. And this is the main area we're really worried about conditions that could last upwards of 30 hours of critical fire weather conditions where we just don't get those overnight recoveries. And followed by another day of very low afternoon relative humidity as well on Saturday. If you boil that all down into a weather risk outlook graphic, you'll see pretty widespread, significant areas of fire weather impacts expected across much of, say, southwest and central Utah here on Friday. And we see that bit of a shift into more of southeast and eastern Utah on Saturday, but still pretty widespread critical fire weather conditions. And looking at the week ahead here, we do see obviously the major event coming up here on Friday and Saturday. We do have a bit of a cool down that comes in across northern Utah on Saturday, or sorry, on Sunday, with temperatures only barely reaching 70 here in Salt Lake on Sunday. So a bit of a cool down, which will be nice. However, for central and southern Utah, we do get those continued critical fire weather conditions. That's because we stay very dry and still hot and still windy across central and southern Utah, although to a lower magnitude, but just not getting that reprieve from those fire weather conditions as we go all the way out into the middle of next week and potentially beyond from what we're seeing. So just to summarize here, major risk of critical fire weather conditions, and I should say a rare major risk of critical fire weather conditions for Friday and Saturday, given the antecedent conditions and the very windy, very dry conditions coming up. So really concern here is for the potential for rapid fire spread on both any new and existing fires as we go Friday into Saturday. So thank you for joining me on this briefing, and that's all I have for you for now.